Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this CMTA webinar. It's the first one we've had in a little while. I know there's been a lot of other great activities going on with the CMTA, so happy to be back here for an evening. This year has been an amazing year for the CMTA Youth Movement, and that's because of the two gentlemen who are with me this evening. So tonight we want to welcome National Youth Programs Manager Jonah Berger and Youth Council Advisory Board member Evan Zeltsar as they walk you through all the different branches of the youth program, what they're doing, how they're doing it, and what you can do to get involved. I'm confident this is going to be a really nice, inspiring evening, educational, interactive. So just grab your snacks and we'll be ready to go here in a minute. During the presentation, if you have any questions, just pop them in the questions window there, and I'll be monitoring that and answer whatever questions I can. Also, if it's something particular about what these guys are talking about at any given moment, we'll definitely stop and interrupt them and try and get your questions answered. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Evan. So Evan, take it away.
Thank you, Bob. So first of all, thank you all for joining our webinar. It means a lot, and I'm super excited. And let's not waste any time and get right into it. So I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Evan Zeltsar. I am 14 years old, and I have CMT type 1A. I've been involved in the CMTA for a good amount of time. I am a member on the Youth Council. I am also a member of the CMTA Advisory Board, and I am the Boston branch Walk Ambassador. So a little bit of history about me and my CMT. I was diagnosed at birth, and growing up through elementary school, I was dealing with CMT, and same with middle school. So and then around middle school time, that was when I started to get involved with the CMTA, and I've been doing this ever since. So that's my introduction. Jonah.
Thank you, Evan. Pleasure to be here with you tonight, and I agree. Thank you all for tuning in as we share the youth movement with you. My name's Jonah Berger. I am the National Youth Programs Manager for the CMTA. I have type 1X, and that runs in my family through my mother's side. I have one daughter, little Amelia, who is 15 months old now, and she also has CMT1X because of the way that it's passed down through genetics. We know that any daughter of mine will have it, and any son of mine will not. My history with the CMTA is I first, I guess, kind of on the periphery, met Elizabeth Ouellette, and she had talked to me a while about trying to get some things started with the youth, and then I wrote my book, He Walks Like a Cowboy, and was at a conference once and promoting the book and met Gina Sweeney, and my life was never the same afterwards. And for years, I volunteered with the CMTA to help run youth outings from all the patient family service conferences, and those just went so great, and every time we got the kids together, it was amazing what went on. And so eventually they decided, let's start a camp, and I was brought on as the director for Camp Footprint 5 years ago now, and served part-time as the camp director, and then as of this past February was brought on full-time with the CMTA, and have never been happier with the work that I do and with the people I get to work with. So it's a real pleasure to be here, and an absolute joy to be with you, Evan. You're the man.
Thank you.
Let's roll the youth video as a little introduction for everyone about the movement.
2019 was a year full of empowerment. 11 youth from all over the United States came together to unite under one mission: youth empowering youth. With only starting in June of last year, the Youth Council has already accomplished the unspeakable. with 2 social media accounts, soaring to close to 500 followers, and our posts reaching over 2,500 people. Together, the Youth Council has raised over $18,000, all for a cure. Not to mention, coming together to create the best virtual camp experience, all while in the process of creating a book written by the youth for the youth, as we work tirelessly to make our voices heard and our dreams become reality. This is all driven by 11 council members and one mission: youth empowering youth. For all things CMTA Youth Council, follow our social media accounts. Join our youth database and fill out our Book of Dreams form and share your story with us.
Youth empowering youth!
Awesome. Awesome. I'd like to thank Emily Stufflet, Riley Williams, and Aaron Black for creating that video for us all. You guys are the best, so thank you. So let's go through a little bit of the what's, when's, and why's of the CMTA Youth Movement. What is the Youth Movement? Again, after all these years, we spent a good 10 or 12 years dabbling with getting youth together who had CMT when we would do these outings from the conferences. And it was always a small group, 8 or 10 kids. But it was so incredible what would happen when they got together. They usually were total strangers. They didn't know each other before. But as soon as they got together, there was this feeling of mutual understanding and appreciation for the other's challenges. And because of that, they were surrounded by those who they knew understood, and they could relax in a way that they didn't usually. And it was just so empowering what was going on at those smaller meetings that Camp Footprint came about. And after the first 5 minutes of the first year of Camp Footprint, it was just so clear what was happening, that the more kids we brought together, the more magic would come about. And to the credit of Amy Gray, the executive director, and to the board of directors, they have prioritized over the last several years, not just growing the youth movement, but really putting some serious effort behind it and hiring me on full time and giving a lot of resources to make sure that this is done right and that it's done well. And so the what is alive and kicking. This is our first full year of the youth program that's coming to an end right now. And we're just getting started, and the future looks really bright. So that's the what. The why of the youth movement. There are 4 kind of main components that Evan and I were talking about that are really why we are doing what we're doing. The first is inspiring youth to see the gifts in having. We very much believe in celebrating difference. It is amazing how I in my life and a lot of the people who are involved in the youth movement see that you spend so much of your early years trying to be like everyone else. And then the wiser you become, the more you realize that it's our differences that make us interesting. And it's our unique qualities, even our challenges, that kind of make up who we are. And so we try to celebrate that and teach the youth that we work with to celebrate that early so that they can get the most out of their unique gifts. We also like to help the kids that we work with to understand that CMT and the challenges that come with it give you a chance to teach others. You know, we go through challenges every day. We learn from those challenges. Because of that knowledge, we can teach others about what we've learned. And that's just kind of a beautiful way to see challenge and to see differences, is that if we all kind of teach each other about the way that we're unique, we all become more rounded. The second component of why we created this youth movement is that the kids can be stronger with their CMT. As a result of having CMT, the kids that we work with are stronger. And that's something we not only preach, but we practice. We believe that our kids, even though they deal with weakness, are made of real strength. And, you know, some examples of that are come to camp any year and you go to the climbing wall and there is camper after camper after camper who was challenging their fears and who was climbing up a climbing wall. These campers hike through the woods in the middle of the night in the dark every year. Talk about strength and fearlessness. Myself, I've climbed the tallest mountain in Colorado. I've done 2 triathlons, not because I'm anything special, but because I don't let CMT dictate what I can and can't do. And we believe in helping all of the youth to understand that. Maya is a CMT footprint camper, and 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, I flew out and went with her to her school. She was always very quiet and very shy. She decided she was going to get up in front of her school and talk about CMT. So I went out and did the talk with her. You talk about courage. It was one of the bravest things I've ever seen. Kids with CMT are strong, and that's one of the things that we want them to understand about themselves. Evan?
Yeah, so the third idea that this sort of youth movement is centered around is connecting the youth of the CMT community. So great friends always have something in common. And since all the youth of the CMT community all have, well, CMT, that means we can all be great friends. And so connecting us all is a goal of the council and the CMTA as a whole, because that'll provide a strong foundation for the future of the CMTA, as well as giving some of these kids people to talk to about their CMT or about life or anything. We're all friends with each other, and that's an important part of the youth movement. And so some ways we are connecting people, connecting youth to the CMT community is, one of them is social media. So we have multiple social media pages. We have an Instagram page, we have a Facebook page. If you want to join either of those, we'll be talking about them more later, but the link is on your screen. But basically the idea is the council is fostering this community on social media for kids with CMT to connect with each other. They're replying to comments, commenting on other kids' pages. And the goal is that, so kids who are not necessarily involved in the youth movement right now can become involved and see what an amazing opportunity this is for them. The other place that we are connecting kids is at Camp Footprint, and this is a huge one because Camp Footprint has over 90, 100 campers some years, and that's really important because that means 90 to 100 people all sharing their stories and sharing their wisdom about CMT. And that, the strength in that idea can do so much for the CMTA and CMT research and fundraising, and it's just endless possibilities that can happen just by connecting the youth of the CMT community at Camp Footprint. And the fourth idea about why the youth movement is going on relates us all back to the CMTA. And the fourth idea is the idea that kids with CMT make an impact on the CMTA community. Now, from the perspective of a kid with CMT, the CMTA is this huge organization. I'm never going to be able to get involved in it. This is huge. There are all sorts of adults coming up with great ideas and conferences. How am I ever going to get involved? The thing is, those kids often have great ideas about the CMTA and about whatever. And that's super important that we don't miss those ideas. And recently, the leadership of the CMTA, the board, the advisory board, have been looking to the youth for ideas, and they have been getting ideas, and it has led to some crazy things. And the idea that these kids can become involved in the CMTA not only helps the CMTA now, but it helps it in the future. Now we have people to come in and fill the spots of people leaving the CMTA, which means that this organization has a great future. And that is partially because of the youth movement. So before we move on to our next topic, Bob, do you have any questions?
And we're good for the moment. Everybody seems to be tracking along nicely. Thanks, Evan.
All right. So then let's move on to where is the movement taking place, because that's super important. If you want to become involved in this youth movement, you've got to know where to look. And so as I mentioned before, it is happening on social media. And we've been having a increase in social media participation and followers. We even have a graph to show you some of what's been going on and some numbers. There we go. So as you can see, these lines, they're trending upward, and these graphs are just from last August to last December. That doesn't even include this year in 2020. So as you can see, we went from 0 followers to almost 300. Actually, I think over 300 in just 2019 alone. And to date, we have 456 followers just on our Instagram page. We also have our Facebook page, which is newer, and I cannot give you numbers, but as you may have seen in the video, we have over 2,500. We've reached over 2,500 people with our Facebook page. And so these numbers show that social media is a great place to find anything youth movement. And so, like, all 4 of the ideas that are in the youth movement can be found on social media.
Absolutely. Thanks, Evan. The next place where where the youth movement is taking place is Camp Footprint, as we've mentioned before. It is just the most special place on earth. It is the most magical experience. And again, as I said before, from day one of year 1, we knew we were onto something, and we knew that all we had to do was get everyone together, and the rest took care of itself. It's a pretty wonderful experience to see kids and some adults who are, I'm pulling up the thing I'm going to read on my phone. I'm not texting, I promise. Who are used to being the only one in their lives, in their families, some of them in their families, a lot of them in their friends group, who have CMT or even who have a physical disability. And then all of a sudden they're surrounded by 99 other kids, and they're surrounded by 50 other staff who understand the most personal and challenging part of themselves without them having to say a word. It's just known. And what happens to these kids is so incredible, because they get this chance to be normal for the first time. They experience normalcy, which is something they're not used to. And that is, again, I don't value normalcy, but it is cool to see what happens when kids who are not used to being able to be normal are allowed to be. And then they can just be themselves and relax. And it's pretty wonderful. I have a few of our council members who have given us some testimonials about what Footprint means to them. And I just want to read a few to you, because I thought, let's let the campers be the ones to tell you why Camp Footprint is awesome. Riley says, Camp Footprint to me means everything. It is a place where I finally feel normal, and I am surrounded by the people that you only bring out the best. It is a place where I never stop smiling. It has my tribe. Camp Footprint is a simple slice of heaven. Well put. Grace said, Camp Footprint is my safe place. It relieves all of my worries in the world and surrounds me with the most love. It really is my true home. Aaron Black said, I've heard it said this way, living with CMT is like constantly having to wear a backpack of bricks around 24/7. Well, when you come to Camp Footprint for the first time in your life, you can take that backpack off and celebrate your diagnosis with others like you. It's simply magic. It really is the closest thing to heaven on earth. And then Sam said, to me, Camp Footprint is the place where I feel most comfortable. There is no other feeling than being surrounded by people who know exactly what you're going through, especially if you've never met someone with CMT. It's amazing because going to Camp Footprint, you get to join the huge family of the Funky Feet. And then Paula told us that Camp Footprint means the world to me. It's the place where we can truly be ourselves with no judgment. There is such a special connection between all of the campers that is truly unmatched anywhere else. It's home. I can, without a doubt, say that Camp Footprint changed my life. Now I ask you, good people, if that does not say it all, what does? It is just so wonderful to see what this experience has ended up meaning to people over the years. And even this year, with all that's going on with COVID-19, Corona, it's not stopping us. We are doing a virtual camp this year, and we're taking our tribe online, and we're going to be online together for a week in August. And it's just amazing to see that when Challenge came about, Camp Footprint was not about to stop. So pretty cool. A couple stories from Camp Footprint. Evan and I were talking through a few of the reasons why we love it and a few of the stories as to what gives you an example of that. The story I always tell is when I first came to camp, the first year of camp, all the boys and the male staff were staying in the male cabin. I come out of my room one morning with my braces in one hand and my shoes in the other, like I do every morning of my life. And I went and I sat down on the couch and I started putting on my braces, which I, again, have done every day of my life, but I always do alone. And somewhere halfway through the process, I happened to turn my head to the right and look down the couch. And next to me on the couch, I hadn't noticed, but two little boys had sat down and started putting their lay braces on in their morning routine. And I didn't say anything to them, but it was the first time in my life that I got to put my braces on next to someone who was also putting their braces on. And it was one of the coolest feelings I've ever had in my life. Even the director, an older guy, can have that same experience that the campers have, which is understanding and connection. Evan?
Yeah, so I forgot to mention in my introduction, I've been to camp 4 years as well.
Yes,
and
you have.
It's been great. So I actually have my own story from camp, and it involves the zip line at camp. And so the zip line is probably the highlight of a lot of people's weeks at camp. It is, for many people, this scary thing to tackle, and it's also a lot of fun once you're on it. I mean, let's be honest, it's a zip line. But anyway, I was standing towards the back of the line to get on the zip line, and I had spoken to a couple of my camp friends earlier, and they were saying, I'm kind of scared. I've never done anything like this. And this, for them, from what I heard from them, from their stories about their life, and from that earlier that morning, they had never done anything on the scale of this. And I was sitting towards the back of the line, and I watched 2 or 3 people go down the zip line screaming woohoo and having a great time. And it was just something as simple as that can mean so much at Camp Footprint. And it was so great to see these kids who have never experienced the thrill of going on a zip line or doing a ropes course. There was a ropes course there too, although no one did it, but there was a ropes course too. But anyway, it was so nice to see these kids finally being able to experience something that somebody their age has probably done dozens of times. And that was really inspiring to me. And it goes to show just, I said this before tonight, but just what can happen at Camp Footprint.
Right on, man. The last story that I'll tell is about Doug Frick, one of my good friends who's been a camper for years at Footprint. And Doug came with us on the youth outing from the Atlanta Patient Family Conference. And there was a bus that we rented, and we were on our way to the Coca-Cola factory in Atlanta. And I asked all the kids, as I often do, if there was anywhere in the world you could go on an all expenses paid trip, where would you choose? And we went around the bus and everyone said their answers, and Paris came out and Italy came out and Greece came out, and I said Ireland personally. And we got to Doug and I said, Doug, where would you go if you could go anywhere in the world, all expenses paid? And he didn't miss a beat. He said Camp Footprint. So that about sums it up. Let's talk a little bit another where the movement is happening. The Youth Council. Evan, why don't you get us started?
Okay, so the last and probably one of the biggest spots that the movement is taking place is the Youth Council. The Youth Council, in a sense, runs the movement. They oversee it, make sure everything is going smoothly, foster it, encourage it. And the Youth Council started actually very close to a year ago. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary very, very soon, as in like 5 days soon. And we started the Youth Council last year with a planning retreat out in Colorado. And so we all flew up to Colorado and we arrived that night. And honestly, people knew other people from camp, because you find those connections at camp. Can't stop talking about camp tonight. But we didn't know each other that well. And then by the end of the retreat, we all knew each other so well, and we were set up for a great year as a council. So what exactly did we do at that retreat? Well, we focused on a couple of things. The first was what it takes to be a leader. I remember the first activity we did that Saturday morning, the first morning, was an activity where we had these cards and we sorted them, the qualities of a leader. And as that weekend progressed, I kept thinking about those cards on the table, and I was seeing my fellow council members, and I knew that we got those cards correct because each of the council members embodied the traits that those cards said. I knew that we had some amazing leaders on the council. And then from that very first activity, we did some planning for the year. Talked about camp footprint that year because I was in 2 months, and we talked about videos to do as a general thing for the year. We actually used one of them in our video tonight. I don't know if you caught it, but we did. That was filmed at a retreat last year. And then that Sunday, we went out to Red Rocks, Colorado, and we cemented the idea that we are a council, we are together, and we are going to create and make sure the youth movement thrives. And that moment at Red Rocks was definitely the start of the council and the start of a new chapter for the CMTA and for each of us on that council. And so from that planning retreat, we moved on to monthly calls. So Jonah, do you want to talk briefly about monthly calls?
Sure. So that is the way that we structure the youth council. We meet once a month online. We talk about what's been going on, what's coming up, and we check in with our committees. And our committees is how we divide the youth council into their work groups, basically. We have 4 committees on the youth council, and the 2 I will talk about are social media and meeting planning. Our meeting planning group help to plan our monthly meetings. They help to structure our monthly meetings. They talk to me about 12.5 times in between the meetings each time so that we can discuss agenda items and things like that. They are the organizers of the social media, of the youth council. The social media committee is a group that started and is maintaining our social media presence on Facebook, on Instagram, and they are hardworking youth. They are doing a lot of work to get this thing up and running. They're doing a lot of work to keeping it growing and to help spreading the message of it. And as Evan showed you with the charts, it's working. So those are the first 2 committees. Evan?
Yeah, so we have 4 committees on the council, and I am on 2 of them. I am on the Fundraising Committee and the Book of Dreams Committee. So the Fundraising Committee is in charge of, well, fundraising, but more specifically fundraising, encouraging youth to fundraise, helping youth fundraise, creating fundraisers themed around and designed for the youth. And so we recently had a fundraiser last couple of weeks, and we raised over $6,000. It was an extremely successful fundraiser. As you saw in the introduction video tonight, we've raised over $18,000 as a council. So the fundraising committee has definitely seen results and seen fantastic results, actually. And the second thing we are doing as a committee is designing fundraising kits. So the second part of the fundraising committee is making sure that other youth have the capability and are not afraid to go out and fundraise on their own. So we are designing slideshow kits to explain and help kids sort of get a jump start on their fundraiser. And so we're going to create specialized kits. So like a fundraiser at school kit, a backyard whatever kit. We have so many ideas for it. I can't even think of them right now. Definitely general fundraiser too. And so hopefully those kits will encourage kids at CMT not to be afraid to fundraise for the CMTA. The second committee I'm on is the Book of Dreams Committee. And this is a big one. The Book of Dreams is essentially the largest project that the council is working on right now. So big it has to have its own committee. And what it essentially is, it's a book. It's going to be a book. We haven't come out with a book yet. With wisdom from so many kids, a bunch of kids with CMT, and their wisdom that they've gone from having CMT, about life, about CMT, about other things. It doesn't necessarily have to be about CMT. So later we'll talk about how people can get involved in the movement, but I figured I'd say this one now. The Book of Dreams, to collect writing for the book, we are obviously opening a form for kids to fill out so that they can share their wisdom. So as you can see on your screen right now, there's a link to the Book of Dreams form, and you can also find it all over the CMTA website. There are many places you can find it. So if you are a youth with CMT and you would like to participate in this project, feel free to fill out that form whenever you like. It's going to close eventually. We haven't fully decided a close date, but soon, so make sure you get your responses in. And if any of you know youth with CMT, make sure to tell them about this project, because it's an amazing project and we want and need entries for it. And we'd appreciate everybody's help so much. So Jonah, do you want to wrap things up about the Youth Council?
You bet. One of the other ways the Youth Council in the last part of this first year of its existence has been taking on a lot of new roles of leadership within the CMTA and helping the CMTA leadership with various projects, and is starting to and going to play a very solid role in helping us to lead the virtual camp experience this summer. So it's really very cool to see how quickly not only did the group get organized, but that the CMTA is putting them to work and utilizing their skills and their talents. So Evan, how can they get involved? If they are interested in becoming a part of this youth movement, let's go over some of the ways that they can jump in the pool.
Yeah, of course. First of all, Bob, do you have any questions before we move on?
The only question that really come in, you're getting right to the point of where they want to be, is how do they get involved? There's quite a few people asking, what can we do? But have somebody who asked, where does the fundraising money go? I guess you know, you're so eloquent in talking about your fundraising activities. How's that money being used for the CMTA and the youth?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question. So the money that we receive as fundraisers basically goes to the CMTA. So it goes towards research and other projects that the CMTA is doing, but primarily research, finding a cure. And also sometimes it'll go to help fund projects like the Book of Dreams. But essentially anywhere, if you're to donate directly to the CMTA, that money would go to the same spot as if you're to donate to one of our fundraisers.
And with regards to the youth program, when you are donating, you are supporting the youth program at large, which is helping to pay for the things that are needed by the youth council for the leadership. It helps for our portion of paying for Camp Footprint every year and providing that magical experience for all of the kids. And it helps us to build a lot of the dreams that we're about to talk about that we have envisioned for the future of the youth movement. So there's a lot of ways that your dollars can help not only the CMTA at large, but also the youth program directly. Good question.
All right, so now I think we're going to move on to the meat of the webinar. How can you, the viewer, get involved? And so we have quite a few solutions for this. The first of which is social media, which is something we've already talked a lot about tonight, but you can join our social media groups. So we have, like I said, we have an Instagram group and a Facebook group, or page, I should say. So if you want to join our Instagram, you can go on Instagram, search at CMTA Youth. And if you want to join on Facebook, you can go to the CMTA Youth page, and there's a space in between. If you are confused with any of those links, they're on your screen right now, towards the bottom two. And the social media committee on the council will obviously be posting to these pages, telling you guys what's going on in the world and how you guys can help. So this is a general way to get involved and also keep yourself updated as to what is going on with the movement. So it's kills two birds with one stone. It's great.
There's also another page on Instagram called the CMT Chronicles that one of our youth council members, Rye, is responsible for starting and for thriving with. And that's an amazing page that you guys should go check out for youth to connect with other youth and to share their stories and to hear the stories of others as well. Another way you can get involved is attend Camp Footprint. Unfortunately for this year, we are full. We do fill up every year, but next year, hopefully, with every bit of positive energy, every fiber of hope and prayers in my soul, we will be back at regular camp next year, and we will be back on target to open up registration for that at the end of 2020. So you're always going to want to keep your eyes on the website, which is cmtacamp.org. And all of the websites that we're discussing tonight, all of the links are on the CMTA organization page. So if you're ever in doubt, just go to cmtausa.org. But cmtacamp.org is all things Camp Footprint. We announce when we're going to open registration, and you want to get registered early because we fill up every single year. And it is a magical experience and a great way to meet a lot of other kids and to really get involved in the youth movement. The most generalized way that you can become involved in all things CMTA Youth is to sign up for the youth database. The link is on your screen as well. It is on the CMTA webpage as well. But it is really, really important to get yourself signed up on the youth database because that gives us your general information that we send out about everything that we're doing, about camp, about youth council updates, about youth council opportunities, about the Book of Dreams, about everything that we're doing. So make sure that no matter what, if there's one thing you take away from this, get on the youth database link, and that will make sure that you're being updated about everything that we're doing with the youth.
Hey, Jonah and Evan, I have a question here from a parent whose child is, I guess, too young or is not on Facebook yet.
Okay.
And curious about these links in the, the Facebook group and Instagram. Is it okay for parents to participate in that? Or do you want just a youth only kind of thing going on?
It's a very good
chart,
No, it's a very good question. We usually preach that we prefer it just to be the youth. That is the way that it is designed, and that is the environment that gives all of the youth that participate in those social media platforms the feeling of comfort that they are with other kids and not with a mix of ages. If there is a parent that has a child that's too young for them, no problem. You can always get in touch with me. I can connect you to other families of kids who are of similar age to your child. And there are ways to kind of get involved outside of social media until they are of the age where it's more appropriate. But again, make sure to sign up for that youth database because then you'll get all of the updates. The parents will, and give you all kinds of opportunities that are very similar to the things we're posting online.
And of course, if you want to sign up if you're an adult and you want to sign up for a CMTA social media page, this CMTA has general social media pages. I'm not quite sure the links of those, but I'm sure they're easy to find. Jonah, do you know them off the top of your head?
They're easy to find, no problem. Just go and search.
Okay,
yeah, there's Facebook and there's a Facebook link for adults, and there's a Facebook active link for those who like to participate in sports and share that too. So both of those
Great.
are available on Facebook, and then there's also Instagram.
Perfect. All right. So, yeah, and the same thing applies. Like, unfortunately, adults cannot come to Camp Footprint unless they want to be counselors. That's an opportunity to sign up for. And same with the youth database. That's for the youth to sign up. And same with the project that I'm about to talk about, the Book of Dreams. So I've already talked about it quite a bit. I keep talking about the same stuff tonight. But the Book of Dreams is yet another way to get involved. And obviously we're collecting with entries from kids with CMT.
And that's, just so I can interject, that's 21 years old and under. So any age up to 21 years old can submit an entry for the Book of Dreams.
Yeah, and so once again, if you missed it earlier, Book of Dreams project, collecting wisdom from kids with CMT, creating a book out of it. Collecting entries right now, so if you want to submit an entry, like I said before, the link on your screen, www.bit.ly/CMTA Book of Dreams. It's right on your screen. But obviously, we've been excluding ways for adults to get involved with the youth movement. So we have a solution for that, and that is donating. So you, like I said, you can donate to fundraisers created by the CMTA counselor or youth with CMT, and that money will go to the same spot as donating to the CMTA, but it also supports youth programs and stuff. So how can you donate? Keep posted on our, that's a pun, on our social media pages, and you'll see fundraisers there. You can also donate on the CMTA website, cmtausa.com, .org. I should know this. All right.
That's okay.
And also, we the CMTA Youth have a Venmo account if you would like to donate through Venmo. Our Venmo is CMTA space youth. You can find us on Venmo. So if that's the way you prefer to donate, feel free to do that. So before we move on to the future of the youth movement, obviously this is a lot, and so if anybody has any questions, submit them. Do we have any questions so far?
Nope, been doing good. We been answering as we go, although now that you say that, we just got one come in. What's the intended timeline for the Book of Dreams project? Do you have a publication date or anything like that?
Yes, so we are planning to have the book releasing this holiday season. And now that the form is open, that seems much less tentative than it was a couple months ago. So we are fairly certain that it's going to be out by the holiday season and ready as a gift if you want to give it to people. That's great.
And all proceeds from the book sales are going to go right to the CMTA as well. So it will be about CMT and helping to fund the CMTA as well. So the future of the youth movement, we have a lot of things that are happening currently, and there's a lot of dreams that we haven't even started yet that we are hoping to. There's an entire idea about creating a pen pal network for youth, and especially for newly diagnosed youth, to be connected to other youth with CMT so that they are not alone and they have some veterans to guide them in the world of dealing with Charcot-Marie-Tooth. Board of Directors mentorship program that we are kind of ironing out the details of right now to connect our board of directors and our youth council to have the current leaders train the future leaders, and the youth inspire the adults. So we're working on that. We are going to create a holiday swag store, possibly this year, possibly it'll start next year, but the youth are constantly coming up with these amazing ideas for fun, interesting, cool looking swag. And so we're going to create a store of limited opportunity items every year for you to do your holiday shopping at and support the CMTA. And then at some point too, we are hoping and dreaming to have a youth conference that we're going to bring youth together from all over the country and do an entire conference just for the youth. So that's coming your way soon.
Yeah, and in a more general sense, the future of the youth movement, it really starts with you, because support on the youth movement is like the fuel of the youth movement. And all these amazing plans, we'll be able to follow through them with your support. And so, in a very general term, the future of the youth movement, it rides on you guys. So before we finish up tonight, we are going to finish with a few creative treats. We've talked to you guys a lot, figured we'd share a couple things. So if you have questions that you want to submit, we'll be answering a couple questions at the very end. So while we show these things, feel free to type any questions in. But in the meantime, we actually brought in a world-renowned magician. He's performed on many stages, and he's gonna show you guys a magic trick tonight. So Bob, roll the footage. Hey guys, here I am with my trick. So before we begin, I just want to show you guys all the cards are different. They're not in any specific order or anything fancy like that. I'm gonna shuffle just in case they were, because magicians always lie. And the next step is for you to just touch any card in the deck. This one? Great. So, this card is the Eight of Hearts. That's very interesting, because the thing about this Eight of Hearts is, if I cut it anywhere into the middle of the deck, it comes right back to the top. That could have been a fluke, so let's try it again. Clean cut right to the middle of the deck, and then snap my fingers, and it's back on top. Now, I can even do it with the deck upside down. So I have a random card on top of the deck, 4 diamonds. If I cut the deck anywhere, boom, I can find the Eight of Hearts. Now, I have a confession to make. I've been cheating. See, the thing is, I have 2 Eight of Hearts. Actually, I have 3 Eight of Hearts. In fact, the whole deck is all Eight of Hearts. That doesn't make sense, because remember at the very beginning of the trick, I told you that all the cards were different? I wasn't lying there. So as you can see, we brought in one of the best magicians ever for that trick.
We spare no expense here at the CMTA.
Absolutely not.
I also, Evan, I wanted to surprise you with this. To match your creative expression of soul, I decided to write a song, and I want to try it out for you and for our viewing audience. It's called the CMTA Youth Movement. It goes like this. CMTA Youth Movement. That's all I have so far. So don't judge it yet. It's a work in progress. I'm still developing it, but I thought I would kind of, give you a little intro.
Okay.
Let's read a poem together, shall we? Let's end this on a rhyming note. Evan and I have a poem that we'd like to share with you called The Waves. The waves come crashing on the sand.
What shall we do? Run for dry land?
Or take our chances and lift our feet?
And ride the tide, our fortunes to meet.
We wake up each and every day
To work and plan and dream and play.
And strive not to trip or stumble or fall.
Our pride intact, our confidence tall.
But the truth comes shining through, you see.
We have a challenge to face. We have CMT.
Our feet are funky, our balance unsure.
Our weakened hands are reaching for a cure.
And while we wait for the cure to arrive,
we must challenge our fears. We must constantly strive
to teach those around us with the way that we face
this challenge with strength and truth and grace.
Try not to be normal. Seek not who to blame.
Don't add to the weight of your feet with your shame.
Walk your own way. Stumble with style.
Do more than survive this. Thrive this and smile.
Go beyond the boundary where your comfort ends.
You'll be strengthened by the wisdom it lends.
And when the waves come crashing, do your best to be brave.
Lift your feet and ride the wave. Thank you for that. Thank you for that amazing poem, Jonah. None of that writing was mine. That was all Jonah. So before we end the night, do you have any more questions, Bob?
First of all, we have a ton of compliments.
Thank you, guys.
Evan, I think you should go into magic as soon as you can, because there's people who want to book you all over the country. So yeah, there's a couple more people who are really interested in trying to get involved on the committees. And so I think maybe they might have missed a little bit of the earlier part. Maybe you could just review that real quick. Like, how can somebody participate on a committee level, not just,
So the committees are specifically the youth that are on the youth council. Those are the committees that they are working on. If someone is interested in participating and supporting some of the work that one of the committees is doing, they should feel free to reach out to me anytime. The CMTA website is cmtausa.org, and my email is Jonah, Jonah, at cmtausa.org. So contact me anytime. My email address is on the website as well. And if you feel like you have a talent that you'd like to share, by all means, I'd be happy to connect you with some of the work that we're doing.
Yeah, of course. This may have come across as a little unclear earlier. And if I was the one explaining, I'm sorry. Basically, the committees are part of the youth council. So the committees are ways we divide the members of the youth council into the tasks that they will be doing. So like Jonah said, if you want to become involved in the CMTA, contact someone with the CMTA. But as far as the committees, that's a council specific thing.
Okay, I think we're all caught up on the questions. So if you guys want to have any closing remarks or anything?
Jonah?
I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. It is just such a pleasure to talk with you all, and to work with you, Evan, as always. And I know you're gonna say about Bob, but it's such a joy to be a part of this community, and a real honor to be calling my career this community. It's just an absolute joy, the work that we're all doing. So thanks for being a part of it, and thanks for tuning in tonight.
Thank you also, Jonah. It's always great working with you with these kinds of things, and especially in the council and seeing your footprint. And it was so great to have a webinar working with you. Special thanks to Bob Christensen for helping organize the webinar, doing a bunch of the behind the scenes stuff. Super helpful and really made this night run. Also a special thanks to Miss Elizabeth Willette. She helped organize the event, gave me some ideas, gave Jonah some ideas, made sure this could happen. And also thanks to Miss Laura Richardson. She also helped with some behind the scenes stuff. And a special thank you to all of you for tuning in, watching. Hope you guys learned some stuff, had a good time tonight. And maybe you're inspired to help with the youth movement. So stay safe, everybody. Stay happy, healthy, and have a great night and a great week.
Everyone.